Over 60 school children witnessed the UFOs and aliens, yet the government and all above them denies this. Is this also a cover-up? At the end of this video we will see what we can debunk, and what is myth and what is truth. Welcome. On September 16, 1994, 62 students at the Ariel School in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, claimed to witness an unknown craft descend from the sky and land in a field nearby. The incident, which would become known as the Ariel School phenomenon in UFO circles, started out on a fairly normal day. At break time, while the teachers remained inside for a faculty meeting, some of the children claimed to have seen a silvery disc land on a hill just out of bounds. The children reportedly ran to the edge of the school grounds to get a better look, with several claiming that they saw figures emerge from what they described as a craft. The children described the event, which they reported as having lasted up to 15 minutes, to their teachers after the break had ended, to much warranted skepticism. However, when they talked to their parents that night, they had questions that were then asked of the faculty. With this prompting, and the intervention of a local UFO researcher, the head teacher of the school asked the children to draw what they had seen. They came back with pretty similar images of silvery, classic UFO-type crafts, sometimes complete with alien figures standing nearby. It looked like it was glinting in the trees. It looked like a disc. Like a round disc, one child witness told the BBC a few days after the incident. I saw something silver on the ground amongst the trees. And a person in black, another said. The story only gets more complicated from here, making it difficult to figure out what exactly went on. The children were interviewed by local UFO researcher Cynthia Hind the day after the event. What Hind found curious was that the students, who had diverse backgrounds, though all from wealthy families as tuition was expensive, described similar features to the figures in UFO, despite interpreting the phenomenon in wildly different ways based on their own upbringing. Some thought that the figures were Zivikwambo, spirits of humans, raised by magic, or Takalash, evil goblin creatures of Shona and Ndebele folklore. Hind believes these different interpretations, accompanied by similar drawings and descriptions, gave more credibility to the idea that the children had all seen a similar event. She also believed that the kids would not have had access to media about UFOs which could have tainted their testimony or planted similar images in their imaginations, telling the TV show Sightings, a lot of these children don't go to the movies. They live in the country. Parents are farmers. The argument being that if they had not encountered these images before and then described something similar, it gives more credibility to their alien encounter being real. Next came a Harvard professor of psychiatry John Mack to interview the children. Through testimony collected by Mack, a new narrative emerged. When talking to the professor, who had recently published a book on UFOs and was heavily invested in the topic, the children reported receiving telepathic messages from the aliens, spreading an environmental message. Mack had also recently been investigated by Harvard for giving credence to the idea to patients who had reported a close encounter with an extraterrestrial life form that this experience might well have been real. Despite being one of the reasons why the Ariel School incident is so widely known, his interview technique was sloppy. Having arrived months after the incident, meaning children could consolidate their stories in their minds, it's likely he prompted the children, perhaps unconsciously, to recall these telepathic events. Hind, meanwhile, had interviewed the children in groups of 4 to 6, making the similarity of story details somewhat less impressive. Another problem with Hind's idea that the children did not know of typical depictions of aliens in media was that the country was in the middle of something of a UFO fever at the time. 2 days previously, the Zenit 2 rocket from the Cosmos 2290 satellite launch had re-entered the atmosphere, causing a fireball in the sky. It wasn't known what the object was by some local residents, and ZBC radio had been hit with numerous calls claiming to have seen UFOs. Hind herself had learned of the incident after talking to the station herself, after a call was made about the school. More sensible explanations, not requiring you to accept that aliens flew here, made a vague message to some school children, and then flew off again, range from mass hysteria to a simple prank on behalf of the school children. One team, documenting cases of mass hysteria in Africa at around this time period, says we should be able to label this and similar incidents as mass hysteria without investigating too much further. Time should not be wasted in a fruitless search for environmental precipitants, which by reinforcing behavior may serve to prolong the episode, doctors wrote in the Malawi Medical Journal. In other words, mass hysteria should not be a diagnosis of exclusion, after all the physical, chemical and biological factors have been ruled out. Now for what we know. John Mack and Hind did not really put much effort into this case. Yes, they interviewed the children, but why rush it off so quickly, 2 days before NASA launch a rocket into space? So it is very easy to cover up a UFO sighting with this story, unlike the case of Roswell. I mean, how can 62 school children who had more or less the same exact description of what they saw, all have been wrong? For now this is still a big mystery. Thank you again for watching. If you have not, please subscribe to our channel, as this really helps us out.